Hey everybody, welcome back to the flight deck. Today we're back in the DC-6. We're currently down in Southampton. We're doing a cargo run here in the cargo variant, the DC-6A. We're running up to Manchester. So this flight should be just under an hour. We're going to see if we can get up to our cruise flight level of 12,000 feet. We'll see how we do. We won't be up there for very long. And then we are going to descend down into Manchester. Winds are out of the north east, so we'll be landing on runway 05 right. So let's hop on board. You can see the cargo is all loaded into the aircraft. We'll get on board and get things up and running. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is get the... we zoom back out a little bit. Get the window open. So we're loaded with fuel. We're carrying almost 6,000 pounds of fuel. We should only need half of that to get up there. And then we've got a full, or almost a full load of cargo, 19,600 pounds of cargo in the back. So we're going to go to the doors. We're going to get the doors closing. Everything is good. We'll also pull in the stairs in the back. And while we do that, we'll go up top. And the GPU should be connected. Yes, it is. So we're going to go to ground power. We're good. Get the door closed. To the cockpit and get the chocks removed. Parking brake is on. So it looks like the door is closed. Still closing the cargo doors. So as soon as they're closed, we'll get underway. So this is my first flight. I've done both tutorials. I recorded the first one so you could see it. And yeah, I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with how this thing operates. So we're going to give it a try on this flight. There's the door latches going over. Doors are now closed. So, Fred, do you want to get the aircraft ready to go?
Cockpit pre-flight.
So I'm running live weather. I've rolled the time back, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Live weather, no traffic, and no VAT sim.
Porter in position. Fuel and fluids.
And we're going to be tracking VORs for this flight.
Pressurization. Set. Manifold and duct pressure. Checked.
I do have the flight plan loaded into the GPS, but we're going to try to track VORs.
Checked. Doors and hatches.
So we can come up here and take a look.
Closed. Door warning lights. Out.
Oh, really? It's not putting any of my waypoints in.
Removed. 3 on board.
Anyway,
Pedals.
we can see it here.
Throttles.
It should kick in. There we go. So we're going to the CPT VOR, the Han VOR, the TNT VOR, and then the Manchester VOR, where we're going to overfly the airport and fly the teardrop out for the ILS on 05 right.
Start engines.
So that is the flight plan we're going to be doing. So we're going to tune in the first 2 frequencies we're going to need. So for the CPT VOR, I will tune that in there. It is going to be 114.35. So we'll go to 35 and 114. Turn that over. The next one, which is the Han VOR, is 113.65. So 65 and 113.65. So that will be the second one. And on VOR 2, I'm going to tune in the Manchester just so we can get a distance range to it as we fly. So that's 113.55. We'll flick that over to that one. And that should be good for the first 2. waypoints anyway. So we're going to go back to our CDI needle. And down here, yeah, that is on N1, nav1, which is what we're going to want. So we're ready to go. We're at a position here where we do not need a pushback. So we'll do the after start checklist.
Start select and boost pumps. Off and off. Battery switch. Plain battery. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. After start checks complete.
So one of the things I've had happen is I've had a couple odd random failures, and I'm not sure why. I've got failures, as you can see, turned off, and I've got no reason for any of this stuff to happen, but for some reason it does, and I'm not exactly sure why. But we're ready to go. We set mixture auto rich on number 3. Let's go back up over top. The magnetos are set to both on number 3. We will set number 3 on the fuel selector, number 3 on the fuel pump low, and we are good to go. So let's start number 3.
3, 6, 9,
Boost,
12,
prime. There we go. Number 3 engine is started. Make sure that comes up properly. So we're gonna look at our temperatures. Everything seems to look good. Number 3 manifold pressure is up. Number 3 RPM. Got good fuel pressure, fuel flow, oil pressure's coming up. Everything is looking good. So come down here to number 4, auto rich. Magnetos to both. Booster to low. Selector to number 4. And we'll crank it.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Number 4 is turning. Good start on number 4. Alright, time to start engine number 2. Mixture. Magnetos to both. Fuel pump low. Selector to number 2. Start.
3, 6, 9, 12.
Boost and prime. Alright, starter cutout. Hear the other 2 switches in a second. There they go. And engine number 1. Mixture to auto rich, magnetos to both. Fuel pump boost to low. Selector to 1. Cranking.
3, 6, 9,
Boost.
12.
Prime. say we got 4 good starts. See them coming up here, manifold pressure, RPM, temperatures, switches are clicking off. So we can come down here, tell them to unhook the ground power, and that's the switches. So let's after start checklist.
Start selected boost pumps. Off and off. Battery switch. Flame venting. Generators and inverters. Checked and on. Emergency lights. Armed. Ground power. Removed. Off to start checks complete.
Alright, so we're going to be taxiing down to runway 02, which is behind us to the right. And because these airplanes, okay, they're starting to warm up now, so we'll bring the throttles back to idle. There we go. So because these airplanes don't have things like taxi lights and marker lights, we're going to do our before takeoff checks here, so we're ready to go when we get there.
Boost pumps. Boost pumps on low. Fuel selector and crossfeed. Main tanks and crossfeed off. Autopilot and carbine. Off and cold. Hydraulic system. Down. Forward.
Graphical
Pressure and quantity checked. Okay.
drawing issues here.
Flaps 20.
Flaps are going down.
Flaps set 20. Windows and turbine.
So the heading we're going to want to follow here is 009 once we get up and going, so we'll just dial that in now.
Controls. Gas lock released. 3. Detonator. On. Mixture and cowl flaps. Bridge unlocked. Set.
Everything's getting
Transponder.
set.
On.
Transponder's on.
Landing lights.
So we're just below the limit for a wet takeoff, so this will be a dry takeoff.
Extended and on. Before takeoff checks complete.
And we are good to taxi out. So we're going to do a bit of a turnaround and then head down to the right. Parking brake is removed. This could get very bloody in a second. Pop the seat up so I can see where we're going. So again, you want to keep the RPMs out of the 1250 range on the RPM, so we don't get any harmonics. Getting live weather today. It's a nice day. That. And it, oh, it's a little bit of a bump there. Not sure what that was. Did not hit the brakes. Although I am now, you can hear them squeaking. See, the approach path is clear. We're going to taxi down and then turn around. So we've got the whole runway. It is only 5,600 feet long. So one thing about, I'm using my SimBrief profile for the fuel load estimate, so we'll see how it does. says she would be just under half fuel to get up to Manchester. I think we're carrying just around 5,400 pounds, and it said we should use 1,900 for the flight. We'll see how that works out. But everything is set up and we're ready to go as soon as we get her turned around here at the far end. And we want to use all the runway we can get. Full turn going. A little bit of push on the left side. And there we go. We are set. Brakes on and dry takeoff. So we're going to be taking off again. We're going to be heading out. We should almost be on a direct course for our intercept for the radial that we want. For the VOR. So here we go.
3 inches stabilize. 3 inches stabilize.
Just got to clear the trees at the far end.
Stabilized. Kill flaps. Kill flaps. Kill flaps set. Full power, please. Going full power.
Short runway, so we'll wait until he gets all the way to full power. Sometimes after 40 inches you can release, but we're going to hold. Should come up to 53 inches.
Full power set.
And brakes released. Windows now closed. Airspeed's alive. knots. We're going to rotate at 100. 90 knots. 100 knots. Easing back. And we're up.
Maserati, gear up. Gear selected up.
And hold it about 110.
Gear up, lights up.
Slowly let her edge up to 120. We're picking up the VOR. Climb to 1,000 feet and then we'll turn for the VOR. 120. Let's ease the nose down, let her start accelerating. There's 1,000 feet. Just going to point to the VOR. See it on the needle there. Put a nose down trim. Get her to start accelerating. Alright, so we're going to get a little bit of a nose down as she comes out of the flap effect. 140. Keep her accelerating.
Meter power. Setting meter power 48 inches, 2600 RPM.
And we're coming up to cruise speed.
Meter power set. Climb power. Setting climb power.
Or climb speed, sorry. She's gonna balloon again slightly as you adjust climb power. There we go. So we'll come down here, we'll turn on the gyro pilot, we'll engage the mechanical clutch.
Climb power set. And the takeoff checklist, please.
Now we'll make sure we get her to 165.
After takeoff checks complete.
And we're going to use the localizer mode to track the localizer. So we're now turning onto the track. And we are 26 miles away. I'll watch the airspeed. Keep it at 165. That will get us to our flight level as quickly as possible. Put you down here for now, so you can see the nice views over the English countryside. Look at that. This is the way to fly. Fantastic views. Great looking sky as well. It's the outside air temperature here. So we're below 10 degrees. There's no visible moisture, but there is some coming. So I'm going to go up to, see if I get a better look at it. I'm going to go up here. It says from 10 to 0, you want to put it into there. So that's now in. The anti-ice is off. We don't need that yet, but we'll just get some heat on the windshield to prevent any fogging. And if that dips below 0, we can go to the next stage. Engines are good. We got good RPMs. Manifold pressure set. We come over and look at our temperatures and pressures. Fuel pressures for all 4 engines are good. Oil pressure on all 4 engines are good. Oil temperatures on all 4 engines are slightly high, but we're climbing. That's fine. Carb air is fine. We're in non-visible moisture. We should be good. Fuel flow for all 4 engines isn't bad. Slightly low on number 2. And everything else is looking really good. So we're coming up for 7,000 feet. So we can't pick up Manchester yet. So I've done my calculation for getting down from 12,000 feet to the 3,000 foot platform altitude is 9,000 feet. If we're trying descending at 1,000 feet per minute under cruise power, we're going to need 45 miles. Plus 30 miles for leveling off and slowing down. So that's 75 miles out from Manchester for the descent is what we're going to want. And I think I'm going to change my mind. We're not going to do the fly over the airport and then come back in. We're actually going to take another course. We're going to head out towards a town called Winsford, and then we'll come in that way and do the intercept from there. So 4,000 feet to go on our cruise. Speed's coming down, so we'll notch that forward. 16 miles from the VOR. And I am using the Navigraph charts as just as a cross-reference as we're tracking. Again, this is a 3-man crew. You'd have your flight engineer. You'd actually be sitting right here, controlling the throttles and the power settings and everything. You'd have your first officer today is Roger over here, and he'd be helping with the navigation, making sure we're where we're supposed to be. And as pilot in command, you're flying the actual aircraft and doing all that stuff. Maybe put our armrest down as well. So there's 9,000 feet. Come down another notch. Now what I am going to do is figure out which one of these goes to that one. And we're going to set our cabin altitude. So we're going to dial this up to 12,000 feet. There we go. And we'll see the cabin differential pressure starting to read. So cabin pressure is now up to 200, up to 300 feet. So instead of sea level, where we were. So that's all working. I don't know why this is showing us going down, but we're going up. There's 11,000 feet. Or maybe it's showing the pressure decrease in the back. And for us here in the cockpit. Not that we have any in the back, because that's the cargo area. There's 12,000 feet coming up. We're going to level. And again, the way you do that is you slowly ease off your rate of climb as you approach 12,000. Try to get it down between 100, 200, 300 max. Either ascending or descending, and then you engage the hold. And then the aircraft will speed up. And once we get up close to 200 knots, we'll do our cruise checklist and set cruise power. It's about 200 feet up. I'm going to notch forward, come forward a couple more, slow that rate. It's 500, 400, 300, and there we go, 12,000 feet. So we're now locked in at 12,000. Speed's coming up. So there's 190. Don't like moving around and hearing clicks. So we'll go to cruise.
Power, please. Setting cruise power.
We're at 200 now, setting cruise. So propeller RPM is coming back.
Power is set.
So cruise power is set. If we come down here again and no, this one. We look at our fuel flow. About 700 pounds per. Oh, there he just turned on the went into mixture lean. So about 600. Pounds per hour, so that's 1,200. That's 2,400 pounds per hour. And on the overheads, we can see we've got 12, 24. So we've got about twice the fuel. So we got about 2 hours of fuel on board, and our flight time is about an hour. Oop, and wasn't paying attention. So I'm going to come off of that. No, that one. I'm going to switch frequencies. There we go. We'll come back over here. And we'll go back to the localizer, and now we're going to pick up the next localizer. And we'll come up here, we'll dial in the next one, which will be the TNT localizer, which is going to be 11570. There we go, so that's dialed in. We can also come down here and see if we can pick up Manchester yet. Yes, we can. So we're currently 114.3 miles away from Manchester. So at 75, we're going to start our descent. We're not quite on a direct course, but it'll be fine. Alright, so we're now tracking in to intercept the course, and that course is going to be about 3, 4, three, 4, 5. So we'll set this to about 3, 4, 5. You see, we're now turning onto it as we are right there. And our cruise speed is currently 210 knots. And we're heading towards some clouds. Let's get the sun side. There we go. That looks looking pretty cool. Very typical on that countryside there. So I'll probably wait until I'm about 60 miles away from Manchester. That'll give me a little bit of room as I adjust around for the inbound trip. That's fine. We're 43 miles away from the next VOR. So I'm going to want 45 miles. So basically when we pass the next VOR, we'll start our descent. And the next VOR is just outside Coventry. Oh, looks like we're going to be going through some cloud layers. So again, the outside air temperature is minus 5 degrees. So if we go up to the panel, is minus 0 to 100 or 0 to 40. We're going to want to click that over to there. So again, that's the windshield heat and radome anti-icing on the front of the airplane. It says radome, but I don't recall seeing a radar in anyway. Here's the anti-ice, the prop, and the airfoil, the leading edges of the wings. And if we have carb ice, here's the carb de-icer over here. And these are certain things for the heating and back, the heaters. You can see we've got the cabin heater going. There's the fuel pressure and the cabin heater temperature of 100 degrees. We have wing heaters which will come on, it'll pump hot air out to take care of that. And there's the fuel pressure if we turn those on, which we're not going to need, I don't think. We seem to be cutting through the clouds. And apparently they have changed the icing so that it does not ice as much as it did. I'm not seeing any ice out there at the moment. So it's a more realistic amount of ice. So we do got some weather coming up. Let's see how that goes. So this is a very, very fun airplane to fly. A lot of work to keep you going. And then you look at the pressurization. It's simulating 2,000 feet it's simulating. I don't know why that's reading we're in a descent. Oh, it is. Not sure exactly how that worked. I know you just dial this in. So yeah, 2,000 foot cabin pressure. We're at 12,000 feet, so there's a 10,000 foot differential. Everything else is pretty good. 30 miles to go. So not sure what our cargo is today. Again, no passengers on this flight. It is strictly cargo. It's using SimBrief for load figures. And fuel calculations. So according to SimBrief, when we land, we should have about 3,500 pounds of fuel on board. Now, does this change? Oh yeah, this changed. So we'll be able to verify that when we land and see how close that is. Put it back to the AFE. Some monitoring stuff. So we're doing about 212 knots. So we are going to descend at 1,000 feet per minute, and when we hit 10,000 feet, we'll do our descent checklists. This is how I've seen people on the YouTube do it, so we're going to give it a try. Again, we'll do it when we get down to about 60 miles out, so we got about 25 miles to go, and so just after the VOR. This is our clock. It comes in, I've changed the time. I mean, that's local time. I can go like that, and that's Zulu time. Not true because I've changed the clock in the game, but if I was live time, that would show. And it also has, if I click over here, this becomes a stopwatch. So if we're doing holds, anything like that. I hope we don't have to do a hold in this thing. It'd take us forever. Being slow speed. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. It's based on a 1 minute lag in a rate 1 turn, which is 30 degrees. I think it's 30 degrees for rate 1 turn. First time flying with live weather on, so this is pretty cool. So I know I keep switching the VORs around, but we are in GPS mode, or no, we are in VLOC mode. That's fine. So we are following the VORs. See, that says we're in nav mode, not ILS mode, and we're giving lateral guidance, not vertical. So the red flag is out on the glide slope. Checking the gauges. For these ones here, as long as you're close to horizontal, that's in the good spot, so you can do a quick look. These ones should be pointing slightly downwards. The air is cold, but we're not in any moisture. So we might be in a minute. The blue notches, or the blue levers down here, that's your carb heat. So if you do get ice in the carbs and the engine starts running rough, what you can do is you can fire hot air from the engine into the carburetor and it'll melt the ice. But you only want to use that if you have to. If you are getting icing, because it decreases your engine power. So you'd only use it if you needed to deal with ice. Not, you know, you wouldn't just put it on because you're going into cloud. And we'll keep an eye on this, see if we get any ice buildup. Nothing yet. It's been pretty good. So we're coming up. We're 7.6 miles away. Coventry is just off in that direction. Maybe 11, 12 miles. I mean, does it get much better than this? See a little bit of turbulent air there. We went up and down. So, what do we have reading-wise for weather at Manchester currently? Hearing those switches is really freaking me out. Winds are 060 at 8 knots. We have a few clouds at 2800, scattered at 3500, 15 degrees. QNH is 1021. All right. Two miles to go. I'm gonna watch for about a mile out. We'll make the changeover. And we'll go to the next VOR. Oh, looks like we've already flipped it. Alright, so we'll go to the next VOR. The 115. There we go. And you gotta, I keep forgetting, you gotta turn that off and then turn it back on again so it re-registers the new VOR. So this is going to take us up to the TNT VOR, and now I'm going to tune in the ILS. There we go. Because that's going to be the next one we want, so that's... I'm not sure where that changed. 11... should be 11155 on there, and we'll go to 11155 up there, so we're ready to knock that over when we're there. And if we come over, 11155 is confirmed. So we're 36 miles from the next VOR, and we are no, I want 11355. That's right. So that one's got the ILS. 11355 is in. And we're now 57 miles out. So we're going to start down. So we're going to roll to 1,000 feet per minute descent. So the hold will come off. And we're going to start down. We're getting a little bit bumpy here in the clouds. We're going to start our way down. Hold it at about 1,000. See the flight engineer clicking the switches there for the ice. He's watching and monitoring. He's picking up that we're getting icing. So if we look out the window, Not seeing anything there yet, but we'll turn on the anti-ice anyway. You can see all the heaps coming up for the anti-ice. And we'll monitor our descent. We want to keep that 1,000 because as we've learned, there are no speed brakes or anything to help us slow the airplane down. It has to do it on its own, and that requires time and distance. And time and distance in level flight. A little bit of a bump there. She should naturally come back to about 1,000 feet per minute. There she goes. That's the speed she's trimmed for, and he's working the controls there for the anti-ice. Definitely got some heavy cloud out here, but still not seeing any icing yet. We'll take a look when we're further down. It's doing a good job monitoring those engines though. Not sure if this is working exactly properly yet. We shouldn't be up at 3,000 feet. Should be here. It should be at 2. Anyway, 10121. Wrong way. So there's 2, and we'll go to 2-1. Will be about there. So, altimeter is now set. We're going to set the co-pilots. Yes, I do. Want to get him at the same point. There we go. Right there. So there's 10,000 feet. We'll run the descent checklist.
26 inches, please. Setting 26 inches.
Watching our vertical speed. It's coming back on the power now.
26 inches set. Descent checklist, please. Altimeters and flight instruments cross-checked. Seatbelt signs on. On. Engine blower is low. Low. Descent checks are complete.
So we should actually be following the 00 radial in. So we're going to dial that radial in. So we're going to go over and intercept it. There's 9,000 feet. We're well into the clouds now. So looking okay. See speeds coming back a little bit. So we're 42 miles from Manchester. And 16 miles from the TNT VOR. Although we're doing a little bit of a dog leg to re-pick it up. I forgot to dial in the radial. When we hit that, we're going to go into gyro mode, and we're going to go at about a 280 heading. – 8,000 feet. So 5,000 to go. There we go, turning back onto the heading. See the second arrow For VOR2, it's pointing towards Manchester Airport. We'll leave that there. That's fine. It's a reference. Our outside air temperature, we're above 0 degrees again, so I can come up here and turn that back over to there. 0 to 10 degrees. There's our turn onto the intercept. 9.3 miles to go, so at about 1 mile out or so, or when it flips, we'll go to a heading of 280. There we are, coming below the clouds. .3 miles to go. We're a little steep, so we're gonna roll that back to 1,000 feet again. Speed will increase. We can go up to about 260, but usually about 240 is the maximum you'll find in a descent that I've seen. It's 5,000 feet, 4 miles out. Still skimming the bottom of the clouds. There we go. So we're going to go over to gyro pilot mode. And I'll start a bit of a turn. It's getting a little dark in here, so we'll get some lights on. There we go. Is that whites or reds? Oh, that's whites. Okay. So again, we're heading 280. A little bit more bank. So we'll go 270 at this point. We're going to decrease our rate of descent. .270. We're going to kind of hold ourselves about here for a minute. Let ourselves get stabilized. 270. Little bit of bouncing around. And we'll come up here and we're going to switch over to 11155, which is the ILS frequency. And we'll put that in the VOR1. And VOR2 will give us the Manchester VOR bearing. So we're kind of dragging through the bottom of the clouds here. Alright, so we're going to start slowing ourselves down here. Should have done this a minute ago, but that's fine.
Cooling turbine. Normal. Fuel booster pumps.
I want to get us going down just a little bit, down to 3,000 feet.
Fuel tank selectors. Mains on, crossfeed off. Hydraulic bypass valve. Down. No smoking signs. On. In-range checks complete.
You see nav and VOR lock are set, so it's picking up the ILS. Both needles are pointing towards the airport, which is what we would expect. We're just going to slowly come down over these hills. Actually, I want to get it down a little bit quicker and then level out so we can really start slowing the airplane down to 175 so we can drop our flaps. Of course, we're going into Mako Sims Manchester. Alright, so there's 100 feet. Come back a little bit more. More. And again, you got to remember when you're ready to level out for the ILS, you're going to have to disconnect the hold or else she's not going to descend. So speed's starting to come down. We're bouncing a bit with the weather or the wind. Should adjust down. Speed's coming back, so we're at 185. We want to get her down to about 190 or 175. So she's not quite slowing enough, so I'm going to take you off. I'm going to bring the power back to, oh, come on, get the power up to about 170. Something you got to remember before you take over is you got to adjust your throttles, or else you're going to get that as soon as they start reading that you're moving them. So bring it back to about 180, up to about 80 on the BMEP. So there's 175, so we're going to start bringing back the flaps. It's 10, let her settle. It's 15, let her settle. 20 degrees, let her settle. gonna power up to about 90 BMEP. Just hold her there. See, we're 15 miles out from the ILS. That's fine. Speed slowly coming back. So if we look at our weight, our current weight at the minute is 76,000. So if we go up to the overhead here, come on. Thought I had you buttoned in here. Anyway, I gotta reset that, but you'd see that we need no. That gives us our landing speed. It'll be about 110. So I'm not too worried about that. Gotta reset that though. So we're gonna set the dial here. It's 052 is what we're gonna want. So that's 05 and about there, 052 for our ILS heading. Alright, so we're now going to turn to about a 300-degree heading. And we're going to want to intercept at about a 20 to 30 degree angle, which means we're going to want to be heading about 0 to 0 degrees as we approach inwards. So keep going. Speed's about 140. Snap witch down there. So we're almost to the point we're going to turn to about 020. See right now the airport is pretty much off our right wing. Speed's good at about 140. Maybe a little high on engine 2. There we go. Weather coming in. Alright, let's start the turn. So we're below the glide slope, which is what we want. We are to the right of the localizer, which is what we want. And 020. We're going to roll out. come back around to 020. And there we are. So we're going to turn off. I'm actually going to do the before landing checklist now.
Flaps 20. Setting flaps 20. 20 flaps set. Masters ridge, wait. Auto ridge. Mixture set.
Auto gyro altitude hold coming off.
Up and down.
We're going to manually hold it at about 3,000 feet. We're waiting to see the needle start to move, and then we'll go into approach mode.
Gear down and locked. 3 greens. Props.
14 and a half miles out.
2500 RPM set. Cow flaps. Plus 3 degrees. Cow flaps set. ADI. ADI off. ADI is off. Baby lights. Speed good. Extended
Localizer's
lights.
coming in.
Lights extended and on. Carbine. Carbine calm. Set calm. Before landing checks complete.
So now turning on the localizer, I have the airport in sight. So she's going to reset herself to around 3,000 feet. And we want to hold that until the glide slope picks up. So we're going to manually adjust. There we go. So again, we're going to want flaps 50, but we're going to be wanting to be going at around 110 on touchdown. We've got control of the throttles at this point. And I know my manifold fuel flow, my manifold indicators here are, there we go. I just got a little stuck. That's good. So we don't want to be going down, so we'll take a notch back on that one. Hold it, we're holding 3,000. See the glide slope needle is starting to move. You can see the runway ahead. Again, keeping the altitude. We're waiting for the intercept. Speed is slowly coming back. Once we're on the intercept, we will then go to additional flaps and then control the power as we're doing that to keep that 110 knots. And there's the glide slope coming in. And the glide slope is captured. There she goes. So now everything is set. You can see the aircraft is 20 degrees flaps. We've got the gear down. So let's start slowing. So we want to go to flaps. And that's how you slow this thing down at this point. It's with flaps. I'm going to bring back the power to 90. And go to flaps 40. Flaps 50. Bring the power back to 80. Speed's down to 138. 120, so we're going to bring her back to about 70, 75-ish. Alright, everything's looking good, so mechanical disconnect is off and auto gyro is off. Now manually flying. I am going to have to map that to my autopilot disconnect button for this. Just, it's too much to look down, especially if we're coming down to minimums in the weather. Slightly to the right. And flying the needles. Getting a little low. Again, not a big flare for this airplane. You just want to lift the nose slightly when you get down. .300 or 1,300 feet. Not sure what the elevation of the field is. A little low. Looks like we got 3 reds, 1 white. Speed's still okay, 110. Say 2 and 2. Speed's coming down, 105. Come up on the power slightly. We don't want to play with the flaps at this point since we're so close. Just control the power. Keep about 110, 105-ish. Back up to 110. Slightly high, ease her off. Bring the power back a little. Power back to about 70. About 65. Speed's coming down. And you don't want to idle until you're right down to flare. Speed back to 60. Flare. We're down. Nose wheels down, reversers. 80 knots. Alright, reversers can come off. And we are down. Welcome to Manchester. You can see we don't need a lot of room to land this thing. Alright, we want to push through the harmonizing piece. Oh, no. Looks like they didn't clear. Well, it's still down. I want it clear. There we go. And remember, do not hit the brakes when you're going backwards. She'll drop her tail and you'll get a tail strike. Alright, note to self. Remember to switch off, or you gotta flick that switch down, or else she won't come out of reverse. There we go, engine's back to idle. we're going to get off at Victor Delta, which is up here. And then we're going to be taxiing up to kind of the western open ramps there, not the gates. So we'll get this thing off the runway. Let's get a little bit of power going. And then we can do our after landing checks. Once we clear the stop line. There we go. So over to the flight engineer.
After landing checks complete.
All right. So I'm reading about 240, 257. Yeah, it's not bad for the barrel. I'm going to taxi down down here. We'll get the window open, get a little bit of air moving. And I love the change in the sounds. Get the fly pad out of the way, or the EFB. Anyway, so that's how you do a ILS landing. We did not fly a star. We don't have the capability of doing it. Well, we do on the GPS, but we really don't for airspeed and altitude restrictions and stuff like that. Keep the RPMs down a little bit. Don't want to go into harmonics. We have some hills to take care of, so we have to power up a little bit. Definitely don't want to be flying in that range. Crossover 05 left. Looks clear. Make the right turn here on Alpha and onto Bravo. And we're going to go up Papa to, I guess it's Quebec, and then up onto that apron. Again, Maco's Manchester looking really good. They're really coming along with Birmingham as well, developing that. Actually, we'll go up Delta here as they develop that, and they're working on a third one, although I don't know what it is yet. Not sure if they've released that information. It's a bit of a secret. And the fellow who did Gatwick is working on London Heathrow, so it's going to be pretty impressive as well. So again, the things to remember about this airplane, if you're going to fly it, is you need time to do things. You don't have speed brakes. It won't slow down quickly. Nothing happens fast. As you can see, this is taxi speed in this thing. It will take a while to get anywhere in it. It's slow. As I've said, it flies half the height, half the speed, but you've got more than twice the work. So you are actually fairly busy in the airplane. And you do have to think ahead and plan ahead, especially navigating. I could turn on the GPS to do the route following, but you know, following VORs is the way they used to do it. And I used SkyVector to get the VOR information and kind of plan out that route. It shows it a little bit better than some of the other tools. Although I guess you could do it in Navigraph as well. So I go to the low en route. Yeah, it does show VORs, so you could do it that way as well. Alright, so we're going to make the left up here, and then we're going to be parking up in front of the building over here. Kind of drifting off the taxi line as I'm looking at Navigraph. I think this is good enough. So I think we'll go into the one after 65 here. A little bit of a squeal on the brakes. We're going to go into 66. Definitely got a weird way of turning at slow speed. Get her up on the line. And these are the types of ramps that we would start this airplane from, especially in the cargo variant. There we go. We'll get inside. Parking brake is on. Oh, so they got some rain coming in. All right, Fred, you want to park us?
Parking brake is set. Cut entrance.
We're going to go to ramp manager, ground power unit, wheel chocks. The engines are off. Cargo doors can open. There is the logbook.
Checks complete, airplane secured.
And the airplane is secured. So the cargo doors are opening. And we can now get out of the aircraft. And again, you can see, and this is a neat thing, as you load cargo in, you see cargo. Wooden pigeon, handled with care. So, if we do a quick check, our fuel on landing was 3,381. It said we should have had 3.5, so that is not too bad. Not too bad at all. So there we go. First practical real-world flight of the DC-6. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.